So today's book is by Augustin Burroughs, author of Running with Scissors, Possible Side Effects. So he reminds me of David Sedaris at the tradition of very insightful, cynical, humorous LGBT men, for lack of better. So I'm going to read a bit from Pest Control. The first time I was starstruck, the object of my affection was a glamorous Eastern Airlines stewardess. She had towering blonde hair, frosted blue eyelids, and was well into her 20s. I was 8. We were thrown together when my parents put me on a flight by myself to Lawrenceville, Georgia, to visit my wealthy grandparents. I called them by their first names, Jack and Carolyn. I told her with pride. They're my father's parents, and my grandmother wears lots of jewelry, just like you. Aren't you precious? The flight attendant said. I smiled because I loved the name Precious. It reminded me of precious stones like rubies and emeralds and diamonds, and even semi-precious stones like onyx, which was the black stone men wore, and the ugliest one of all. The flight attendant returned to the kitchen, and I looked out the window, happy to see the mundane north pass by, far below me. As the only member of my family for generations born above the Mason-Dixon line, I was fascinated by the impossibly exotic South. Like, instead of dirty, gray squirrels, my grandparents had technicolor peacocks on their lawn. And while we got hateful blizzards in the winter, my grandparents got yet more sunshine. I found it impossible to believe that snow did not cover the world, but here was proof. Though this became an annual trip for me, my grandfather traveled a lot, so I never spent much time with him. And he was gruff, so when he was around, I was frightened and avoided him. But my grandmother spent every minute with me, and I adored her. Carolyn was blonde and wore minks. She had gigantic jade and diamond rings on nearly every finger, and a gold charm bracelet that made a soft tinkle sound when she waved her hands in the air. At night she slipped into nightgown and fur trim along the neck and at the hem, and even her slippers had high heels. I thought she was beautiful, like a movie star. Only when she leaned in very close to me, and I saw through her thick pancake makeup to the deep lines beneath, did I become slightly alarmed. Old people had always scared me a little, and while my grandmother certainly wasn't old from a distance, she seemed brittle when you looked at her very closely. Sometimes when she kissed me on the forehead at night, I flinched, worried a piece of her might chip off and stick to me. The summer I turned 7, the tooth on my upper left side became loose, and I spent the afternoon worrying it with my finger. Honey, just let that tooth come out all on its own accord. Don't force it before it's ready, my grandmother said. But Carolyn, it's almost ready. It's just about to come out.